Our movie today starts with two villagers heading out to cut trees and hunt snakes. One of them gets scared and wants to go back, but the other tells him not to be a coward, because selling just one snake earns more than a full day of cutting wood. Suddenly, a snake attacks his friend, and the other man starts searching for him until the friend suddenly drops right in front of him. He sees the snake, tries to calm himself down, but it's useless. The snake launches at him. The scene then shifts to a train heading to a village called Yongan. Inside, there are passengers from different social classes chatting about all kinds of topics. In the first-class cabin, a group of soldiers is laughing and playing around, while their commander is sitting in the third-class cabin, which is crowded and smells terrible. The commander's name is Shane Mang, and he happens to be sitting next to Dr. Jing, whose hometown is that same village. As usual on long train rides, there are plenty of vendors selling all sorts of things. Among them is Mo Xing, a snake hunter, selling snakeskin and similar items. Suddenly, a highly venomous snake slips into the train and heads straight toward Commander Xiaoming. It wraps around his shoulder and is just about to bite him when Mo Xing jumps in and saves him. He introduces himself and the little boy with him, Xiao, saying he's a descendant of the Snake King and works as a snake catcher. Dr. Jing tries to shake his hand, but he tells her his hands are dirty, which makes her feel awkward. Commander Xiao uses the moment to tease her, asking why she helps strangers. Suddenly, the train comes to a stop because something has blocked the tracks. Commander Xiao thinks it might be bandits, but then something starts pounding hard on the roof of the train. Everyone panics. A woman sitting by the window tries to see what's on the roof, but a giant snake grabs her, and her blood splatters down the window for everyone to see. Fear spreads quickly. Then, out of nowhere, a swarm of small snakes invades the train, attacking passengers and killing them within seconds. Chaos erupts inside the train. Mo Xing manages to slow the snakes down by throwing garlic in front of them, keeping them from crossing for a moment. Instead of thanking him, some passengers blame the commander for causing all of this. Still, they take advantage of the snake's temporary retreat and rush to the next car, only to see its door break open as a huge, two-headed snake appears. The sight is terrifying. Everyone huddles together with the soldiers. Mo Xing then suggests that they all escape through the roof of the train. But the giant snake is blocking the door they're hiding behind. Mo Xing grabs the water hoses and sprays the snakes to slow them down, giving the passengers a chance to escape. When they climb onto the roof, they see the ground on both sides crawling with countless snakes. Any passenger who falls will die instantly. Mo Xing continues with his plan, but suddenly the water runs out. He tries to catch up with the people running on top of the train while the snakes chase them. He tells them to head toward the mountain. Everyone is terrified, panicking nonstop. One of the passengers, named Chief Shin, slips and falls. He's clutching his bag tightly, scared to lose it, so one of the passengers steps in to help him. But it was already too late, so the man pushed her toward the snakes so they'd eat her, and he could escape. Over by the trench, Mo Xing told the passengers to use the feed lying around to build a barrier, then pour alcohol over it so they could set it on fire. But the cowardly man named President Shin, the same one who threw the girl earlier, needed help, and Mo Xing tried to save him. At the very last moment, they managed to cross the feed, and Commander Xiao threw his lighter onto it, creating a wall of fire between them and the snakes. When morning came, they rested under the trees, and Mo Xing started treating the sick and those who had been poisoned. What mattered most to Mo was saving the child, Xiao, who looked exhausted and weak after everything that had happened the night before. There was also a man traveling with his pregnant wife, and it was clear she had been bitten by a snake. The man cursed his luck for bringing her to the village to give birth. Commander Xiao insisted that Mo Xing was the reason for everything that had happened, especially because Mo mentioned that the antidote was in the village and would cost a lot. But Jing defended him, saying that if it weren't for Mo, none of them would have survived, and that he had nearly been eaten by the snakes multiple times. Mo picked up Xiao and walked toward the village. Jing asked him why he didn't defend himself, but he told her, hopelessly, that he was used to being blamed. When they arrived, they found the entire village destroyed and many of the villagers dead. They reached the shelter where the remaining villagers were hiding. Mo found his mother, Jing found her father, and they checked on the others who had been poisoned in the snake attack the night before. Mo's mother told him that the village had suffered a massive snake attack that killed many people, and although the villagers were Mo's own people, they blamed him for everything, saying that because he hunted snakes, he must have angered them and caused the attack. But this time Mo didn't stay quiet. He told them the real reason was that the leaders had blown up the mountains, and villagers had cut trees recklessly, destroying countless snake dens and burrows. That was why the snakes had attacked. Commander Xiao didn't like hearing that and argued that the mountains were blown up so roads could be built. But another villager interrupted, saying the real reason was for the leaders to steal the mountain's resources before the war and build their own private reserves. Mo then explained that the snake's venom was unbelievably strong because it came from a golden viper, and the only antidote came from a certain part of the same creature. To retrieve it, they would have to cross the Valley of the Snake Kings, which was behind the mountain. Jing's father tried to stop her, warning that many had entered the valley before and never returned. But Jing insisted, saying she was willing to risk her life, and that she'd go even if she had to go alone. People saw her determination and decided to go with her. They split into two groups and took small boats. Xiao tried to get closer to Jing and told her sweet things, but she ignored him as usual. He decided to take a swim in the water, but a snake moved beneath the surface and attacked him. He barely escaped, and the snake kept circling around him. The group tried to fight it off and push it away from the raft until one of them accidentally cut the rope holding the raft together, and everybody fell into the water. Panic spread instantly. President Shen cared more about his bag than his own life. Then Zhao's mother and a skilled archer fired an arrow at the snake, helping the group track its movement. Of course, Commander Xiao didn't stop causing trouble. He pulled a grenade from his pocket, intending to throw it at the snake, but ended up throwing it at the raft instead, blowing it apart, and sending everyone into the water. They eventually managed to reach the shore, and everyone blamed Xiao. Even his own soldiers looked at him like he was the cause of all their suffering. Z asked Mo what they should do next. Mo told them he remembered another path through the temple, but he wasn't entirely sure. Xiao mocked him, saying, "There's no such thing as not sure." Mo responded firmly, "If you don't trust me, don't follow me. I'm going anyway. If you have a better way, take it." Xiao's soldiers abandoned him and chose to continue with Mo. They walked through a narrow passage in a field filled with a terrible smell, the scent of snake saliva. They found a woodcutter from a nearby village who had been killed by the snakes. Xiao vowed revenge and said that once he got out, he'd throw a bomb at the snakes and kill them all. But Mo told him he was the real problem. He had urinated in the water the snakes lived in, and their attack was simply a reaction to what he did. Xiao got angry and tried to urinate in the field again, but within seconds a snake attacked and bit him. His soldiers returned to save him, saying they could never leave him behind. They moved on into the forest and reached an area where strange things were hanging from the trees, what the locals call the Black Widow, a cluster of extremely venomous spiders. The spiders spread quickly. Z tried to silence everyone so they wouldn't wake them up, hoping the group could pass quietly. But something fell on one of the soldiers, causing him to fire his gun. A nest of spiders dropped onto them, and the spiders attacked from everywhere. One soldier grabbed Jing and told her to run while he sacrificed himself to distract the spiders. The group escaped with their lives and reached the temple. Inside, they explored and Mo explained the symbols carved on the walls. They found clothes belonging to someone, meaning someone might be living there. Jing began feeling dizzy and weak. Mo noticed and realized she had most likely been poisoned by the spiders. He decided to place her in a hot spring and give her medicinal herbs. Someone had been watching her the whole time and threw a snake at her, but Mo saved her again. They sat together and talked, and we learned that Jing had been Mo's childhood friend. They trained together and learned everything side by side in that same village. But Jing chose to leave the village to study medicine in the city. Her heart was still attached to her home, though, and she always wanted to return to help her people. Mo teased her, saying she was the opposite of him. He wanted to leave the village, and its people, who always doubted him, called him a traitor, and blamed him for every disaster despite everything he did for them. Mo left Jing and went out to confront Xiao, who was furious because he suspected that Jing had feelings for Mo. The two men began to fight over her, while the others were asleep on the other side. One of them suddenly sees a ghost, so everyone wakes up and gets ready to fight whatever is out there. One of the soldiers fires at the ghost, and the gunshot brings Xiao and Mo over to see what happened, but they end up falling into a trap. Mo realizes the whole thing was just a setup meant to slow them down and distract them from Jing. As soon as he ran to her earlier, he found that she had disappeared. Mo follows the trail of water and discovers an underground tunnel. He climbs down and starts exploring until he hears Jing's voice. He opens the crate she's locked inside and tries to rescue her, but a dwarf appears and threatens him with a gun. That's when Xiao steps in and puts his weapon to the dwarf's head. The dwarf introduces himself and says his name is the Sad Serpent. He explains that he lives in this temple and that when they arrived, they basically broke into his home. He also admits that when he first saw Jing, he was struck by her beauty, especially since he himself looks hideous. He tells them he abandoned humans long ago and chose to live alone because, in his opinion, people are more poisonous than snakes. When he finds out they're trying to reach the Valley of the Serpent Kings, he offers to help guide them there. Jing agrees, but Mo stays suspicious and uneasy about him. Still, they have no other choice, so they follow him until they reach the valley, which already looks terrifying from the outside. Once they enter, they encounter a swarm of bats. The dwarf warns them not to move or make a sound, otherwise the bats will wake up and kill them. After they get through the bat tunnel, they come across a huge hill. To reach the other side, they have to cross an old, broken-down bridge. The dwarf goes first, and everyone crosses behind him one by one. Z slips, but Mo saves her at the last second. They all make it across, but the bats wake up and go after them. The wooden bridge is seconds away from collapsing, so the soldiers rush to hold it steady until the commander, Jing, and Mo make it across. They sacrifice themselves to save the others, doing their duty until their final breath. Xiao breaks down in tears, and this moment becomes a major turning point in his character. When they finally reach the end of the path, they find two tunnels and have no idea which is the right one, so they split up into two groups, 4 people in each. The dwarf is in the group with Z. As soon as they enter, they realize the dwarf set them up. The place only has one giant snake and no exits. The snake attacks the group and they try to escape, but Z screams as they struggle to find a way out. Z comes up with a desperate idea. She lures the snake to attack her with full force so that it slams its head into the rocks, opening a hole they can escape through. But the snake gets hold of her and bites her. As she dies, she tells them to take care of her son, Xiao. She sacrifices herself for him and for the others. Meanwhile, the second group actually finds the flowers they're looking for, but beneath them is a massive swarm of snakes. Mo picks some of the flowers, but Chief Shan insists they take all of them. Mo and Jing refuse, because if the snakes return and don't find any flowers left to feed on, they'll attack the village in revenge. That's when the dwarf appears again, pointing a gun at them. He orders Mo to pick every single flower and give them to him. He threatens to shoot Jing if Mo refuses. He also tells them that everyone in the other group is already dead and that if Mo doesn't bring him all the flowers, they'll end up the same. Mo is forced to obey and collects all the flowers. But suddenly the snakes attack them, and attack the dwarf as well, and devour him. Chaos erupts. Everyone runs after the flowers. Shan reaches the edge of the cliff, trying desperately to grab them, but slips and falls. The snakes swarm him and kill him. Mo grabs Shan's bag and the survivors try to escape, but the snakes keep chasing them. Those who remain from the other group try to fight the giant snake one more time, but fail, and all of them are killed. One of them laughs and tells Jing he isn't a coward, then grabs a grenade and tries to blow up the snake, but it doesn't work. At that moment, Mo gets an idea. He needs to get the giant snake to twist around itself and bite its own body. The plan works, and the snake dies. Mo and Jing manage to escape, the only two survivors. Life returns to the village, the people start using the forest lands again, and everything becomes lively once more. Mo marries Jing, and the movie ends with a happy ending. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.